What's up? I'm Jacob Blitzo, your Elixir mentor. Today, we are going to use a JavaScript event to clear the values from our two text areas, the line numbers and the gist input area. Let's spin up our project real quick to demonstrate the problem we need to solve in this video. First, let's make sure our Postgres container is running. Mine is. If yours isn't, go ahead and start it, and then open up our terminal and cd into our project. Mine is in Documents, Develop, Elixir Mentor, and Elixir Gist. And then to spin up our project, mix space phx.server. All right, and then let's go ahead and pull open a browser and go to localhost 4000. All right, and we got to log in. Of course, you know the drill, ignore the ugliness. My username is jacob@elixirmentor.com, and the password is elixirmentor. All right, and then once we're logged in, if you remember our bug, if we create a gist, so this is a description file name.ex, and then if we enter some code here, this is some code, and this value won't clear. So when we create a gist, so it created, but our description file name, it cleared like expected, but our line numbers and our gist text area didn't clear. These are not clearing because if you remember, if we go over to our project and open up Elixir Gist Web Live and create a gist, or create gist live.html.heeks, we set phx update to ignore. And this basically, it's ignoring DOM patching to the elements in this div, which are our two text areas. But since we're not validating these to create a gist, that doesn't matter. But now we have a problem to fix because these aren't clearing out, right? So if we jump into our project and open up our assets directory, JS, and open back up our app.js. So similar to our handle event callbacks in our live view that we created for validate and create, we can pull that up. So you see our handle events here, and these get called right from our front end, and they call these events, which are on the back end on our server. But we want to use JavaScript, so we're not hitting the server for UI purposes, right? So similar to that, we can create and handle events inside our JS hooks here. So we have this update line numbers hook, and we can just grab references from the DOM of our line numbers text area, like we did in the last video with its ID line numbers. Since we're going to be using line numbers in our scroll here and now in our event that we're adding, let's just go ahead and move it outside, keep it in the mount right there. And now we have reference. And then we can create our event underneath this, and we can still grab our gist text area with this .l, which is for element. So if we go underneath all of our functions here, and we can create our handle event function. Very similar to event listeners, we're going to do this not l, because we're just listing, we're going to be calling this event. So we're not listening through the element, okay? So we're just going to do this handle event and then opening parentheses. And then we want to add the event we want to call. This can be anything you want, but we're going to call ours with opening and closing quotations, clear dash text areas, and then close off those quotations. Then let's finish this function with a comma. We're not passing any parameters in, and then equals, greater than, and then we want to just do opening and closing curly braces. We want to clear values of both text areas. And this is pretty easy to do. We can just do this .element.value, and this is our gist input, and we're going to just set this to an empty string. And then for our gist line numbers text area, so we want to grab our reference to it, which we have up above, and that variable is line number text. And then we want to do a dot value. And now we want to set this not just to an empty string, right? Because our text area always, when it is reset, has a 1, right? So we need to just do our, I'm scrolling all over the place. So we want to, instead of setting this to an empty string, we want a number 1 there. And then we need our new line sequence, which is \n. Okay. So that's it. Now, when this event is triggered, it'll clear our gist input and reset the line number text area to 1. So now how can we call this event? We would probably want to call it from, I don't know, wherever our gist is being successfully created, right? So let's head back over to our live.ex file. Oh, save this. I don't want to forget that. And in our, if you find our create event, we probably want it just inside this create gist. So when a gist is successfully created, we want to call our clear text area event. We can use a function called push event, push_event. And this function, it takes our socket as the first parameter. Then after that, it's going to accept the event that we want to call. So we have to use the same name we used in our app.js file, which is clear-text area, and then close those quotations. And then a map with any values we'd want to pass along, which we don't have any. So we're going to just pass in an empty map. Now, this returns a socket, so we need to assign it to a variable named socket, so we can just reassign it to our socket here. So we're just updating the socket, so socket equals our push event function. That should do it. So if we save this, and now to test this out, if your project still isn't running, just cd into the project and use mix space phx.server to get it running again. And since ours is still right here, so now if we say this is a description, file name.ex, and then if we type in a bunch of code, blah, 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 and now when we create our gist, all of our fields should clear as expected. And it did not. So time to see what we forgot to do here. I have a typo. I think I have a typo. Yeah, so I just need to add an S to our push event, save it. All right, and now go back to our browser. All right, another description, another file.ex. And now when we add our code, just a bunch of lines, la, 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 la. And now when we create gist, it's going to work this time. And boom, there we go. Our whole form is now resetting the way we expect it to. Now we can finally have our create gist functioning as expected. And we learned how to call a JavaScript event from our LiveView, which is super cool because we don't have to call a Phoenix handle event callback and hit our server. We're still doing everything on the front end. And in our next video, we're going to add some finishing touches to this page, and then we'll be able to move on to the next view. As always, if you need help or want to check out the solutions, check out the GitHub link in the description. Join my Discord server, Elixir Mentor, if you have any questions or want to hang out and chat. That link is in the description as well. If you want to learn how to build scalable, production-ready, full-stack, and REST API solutions, hit that subscribe button now. I'm Jacob Litzo, your Elixir Mentor. See you in the next video.